They will never see us coming. This storm erases every sensor. It is the perfect blind.
Earth lay wrapped in a superstorm unseen in 10,000 years. A churning black wall that swallowed all sensors. 400 ships slipped into the clouds like knives into fog. No trace escaped the maelstrom.
Look at that wall, Cloud. That's a once-in-a-lifetime supercell. Wait, there's a spike here. Multiple returns in tight formation. That's not windborne debris.
On his radar, an anomalous signature cut through the Hook echo. Dozens of dense objects descending.
That formation is deliberate. Something is inside the storm with us. Something huge.
No power on this world can track us now. This is not weather. It is a fortress.
Patch me into the defense net. I don't care if they laugh. Send the model.
He hit transmit and watched the data vanish into the black. Whether anyone would believe a storm chaser was another matter entirely. The data packet hit Captain Alara Reed's console in the subterranean command bunker. Her aide flagged it as probable noise from a civilian weather station.
What am I looking at? This is a radar anomaly, not a threat.
The storm's internal structure is being distorted. I've tracked supercells for 15 years. This is not natural.
And you are telling me an alien fleet is hiding inside a Category 5 hurricane?
Look at the model. The mass distribution follows a tactical formation. No debris field moves like that.
Reed pulled up the simulation. It showed a dense column descending through the eye wall, maintaining cohesion against shredding winds.
All right, coastal batteries on standby. If you are wrong, Rains, you'll answer to a tribunal.
The humans cannot see us. Their primitive sensors are blind. We will be in their cities before they even know we're here.
In the dark of the bunker, officers quietly began warming up missile systems. No sirens, no broadcasts, just the hum of machines waking. But Jeffrey knew the truth was already screaming through the cloud. The only question was whether humanity would listen. Jeffrey's model tightened. The alien mass was funneling toward a single vector, the Chesapeake Bay.
They'll break Cloud 40 miles east of Chesapeake. Mark that grid.
Under radio silence, mobile missile batteries crawled through rain-slick roads toward the coast.
3rd Battalion to Sector 7. No active emissions. I want this ambush invisible.
Feel the ship shake. The storm is our ally. It tears at us, but it shreds any hope of detection.
Commander, I detect a faint spike in human electromagnetic traffic. Low band, but coordinated.
They are probably trying to track the storm. Their curiosity will kill them.
Along the coast, hidden launchers raised their rails toward the boiling overcast. No one spoke. Jeffrey wiped rain from his tablet and adjusted the track. The target box tightened around the invaders. He'd chased storms for the thrill. Now the storm was chasing a fleet right into humanity's waiting teeth. The superstorm crossed the Category 5 threshold. Debris flew sideways at speeds that would strip flesh. Then the satellite burst cut out, leaving Jeffrey with only local radar and a prayer. His team in the chase van screamed for him to retreat. The storm was eating everything alive.
Negative. I still have ground clutter returns. I can track them manually.
With the sat link gone, Jeffrey's tablet became his sole eye. He layered wind shear data over the last known track.
Commander, we've lost all external reference. We're navigating dead reckoning through a nightmare.
He recalculated by hand, using the storm's thermal layers like a map. The fleet's thermal wake painted a bright snake on his screen.
Rains to any station. Adjust track 5 degrees east. They're riding the updraft corridor.
He held his tablet up into the wind, the screen barely readable, but the line he'd drawn was dead on target. They'd break Cloud in 12 minutes. He wasn't leaving until he saw them with his own eyes.
There. I see a silhouette. Lightning just lit up the whole flank of the lead ship.
Captain Reed's comm line crackled. Jeffrey's voice cut through the static, giving bearing, range, and velocity in one breath.
Hold fire. Let the entire formation expose itself before we light them up.
On the hillsides, missile crews held their thumbs over the triggers, sweating. The storm howled, but no one moved.
There it is. Look at the moon breaking through the eye wall. This world is ours.
Now, they're committed. You'll never get a better shot.
And then, in the space between heartbeats, Every alien sensor on the bridge lit up at once.
Commander, multiple targeting emissions. They've locked us from the surface.
Distance to break. 3 seconds. Every human weapon on the coast whispered ready. Reed pressed the comm. The storm itself seemed to hold its breath.
All batteries, fire. Light them up.
Missiles erupted from the coast in a wall of fire, riding beams of radar that Jeffrey had painted onto the clouds. The lead alien cruiser shattered before its shields could harden. A chain of secondary explosions tore through the formation.
Break and descend. All ships scattered to ground assault altitude. They cannot target us all.
Half the fleet peeled away, diving into the rain. Others rammed through the kill zone, hulls ablaze but still flying.
Deploy all ground legions. If we cannot take their skies, we will take their mud.
Lander pods punched into the earth like iron rain. Armored aliens spilled into the storm. Blind but advancing.
They're scattering, tracking 3 separate columns. I am feeding the new vectors now.
Human ground forces opened up with everything they had. The battlefield became a chaos of mud, lightning, and alien screams. On his bridge, Donald stared at a tactical map turning red. The perfect blind had become a slaughter, and he still didn't know why.
Commander, I am initiating full-spectrum jamming. Their radar nets will be blind in seconds.
Rains, we've lost radar. The screens are snow. You are our only eyes now.
I still have them on my tablet. Relaying track via low-band burst. Don't let them push to the city.
Find the source of the coordination. There is a spotter in that storm. Vex, trace every anomaly.
A scout drone peeled from the fleet and swept low over the plain, listening for the whisper of a civilian radio.
I've got a drone on me. It's following my signal. I need to go silent.
He gunned the engine and plunged into a curtain of hail. The windshield fractured into a spiderweb.
Rains, status. Are you still tracking?
Vex's screen showed the signal vanish into the hail shaft. The drone circled, blind. The trail was gone. Donald slammed his fist on the console. One lone human, in a vehicle, was outthinking an entire invasion. The storm's fury slackened for a breath, and Jeffrey sprinted up a limestone ridge. At the crest, a pocket of clear air showed him the battlefield.
They're changing formation. Deliberate juking. They know they're being tracked.
But Jeffrey had spent years reading a storm's hidden corridors. He saw the path they'd take before they did.
Reed, shift fire to Sector 9. They're riding the boundary layer, 300 feet above the tree line.
Copy that. All available units. Execute.
5 SAMs lanced skyward and found the ship where Jeffrey said it would be. The explosion lit up the clouds.
That was the Vanguard. Who is out there? A whole division?
On his tablet, the track updated. A perfect kill box closed around the alien formation.
They're breaking. Keep hitting them. Don't give them a second to regroup.
Donald, for the first time in his career, felt the cold grip of a trap he could not see. He ordered his flagship deeper into the storm.
Reed, the storm's spinning up a tornado alley right across their line of advance. They won't reach the city.
All ground units. Fall back to phase line Bravo. Let the storm do its work.
Alien walkers slogged toward the lights of the city, unaware that the storm directly above them had begun to rotate. The first funnel dropped without warning. It sliced through an entire armored column, flipping tanks like leaves.
What is happening down there? The entire ground assault is being shredded.
Commander, the storm has spawned multiple vortices. Our forces are trapped in a corridor of funnels. Advance is impossible.
The tornadoes formed a roaring wall between the aliens and the city, herding them into a single muddy bottleneck.
All batteries, fire on the bottleneck. Now.
Mortars and artillery shells rained into the trapped column. Alien screams mixed with the howl of the wind. On his bridge, Donald watched his ground forces vanish from the map, erased not by weapons alone, but by the very weather he'd called a fortress.
Commander, I've correlated every human strike with the storm's thermal layers. They are not just lucky, they are reading the storm itself.
Impossible. No species can track a fleet through a superstorm. It is pure chaos.
Vex pulled up a timeline overlay. Every human attack coincided with a thermal updraft or wind shear boundary. The correlation was perfect.
They are using the storm as a weapon, Commander. The tornadoes, the hail, they predicted them.
Donald felt the floor shift beneath him. This was not a battle. This was a hunt.
All ships, ascend, break atmosphere. Get above the cloud deck.
But the storm had already closed its throat. A wall of lightning-filled clouds sealed the upper reaches.
Exits are blocked. The updrafts are too violent. We're trapped inside their weather.
For the first time, Donald understood the horror of his situation. The storm was not a fortress. It was a prison, and the jailers were somewhere out there, dancing in the lightning. In the bunker, a signals officer flagged an unencrypted alien transmission. The voice was Commander Donald himself, and he sounded broken. The transmission played. How are they doing this? What creature fights inside a storm and wins?
They don't get it. To them, this is a nightmare. To us, it's a thrill.
In the chase van, Jeffrey's team erupted in exhausted, disbelieving laughter. They'd called it. The storm had saved them.
Commander, I've isolated the human transmissions. They're laughing. They are genuinely elated, shouting about the storm's beauty.
Elated? The storm is dismembering our ships, and they find it beautiful.
Yes, Commander. They are not merely using the storm. They worship it. I believe they chase these phenomena for recreation.
Donald stared at the holographic map, his mind reeling. The humans were not resisting the storm. They had been waiting for it. The perfect blind had become the perfect trap. And somewhere in the chaos, a human in a red jacket was smiling.
They're realizing the truth reigns. The storm was never their cover. It was ours.
Who is responsible? I want to see the face of our enemy.
Commander, the source is a civilian vehicle. No military markings. A single human.
A young voice crackled through the alien speakers. The wall cloud rotation is textbook perfect. That's a multi-vortex structure. The voice belonged to a human who loved the storm. A hobbyist in a red jacket, not a war strategist.
Target that vehicle. Eliminate him. I want no trace of the spotter.
Coordinates locked. Missile away. Impact in 10 seconds.
On the ridge, Jeffrey saw a streak of fire arc toward him through the rain. Jeffrey punched the accelerator and shouted a curse into the static, the cracked windshield blurring his vision. He swerved behind a limestone outcrop just as the first plasma bolt struck, showering the road with molten rock and deafening thunder. On the bridge, the tracking signal flickered and died. The human was still alive, and the storm only tightened its fist around the fleet. The second plasma round caught the rear corner of his vehicle. Metal screamed as the rear axle gave way, spinning the chassis into a muddy ditch.
I am hit but mobile. Give me a second.
He kicked the door open and crawled free, cradling the tablet against his chest. The screen flickered but held.
Rains, you are done. Fall back. We'll mop up without you.
Negative. If I lose the track now, they'll escape the kill box. I can reach the ridge.
He ripped a portable dish from the wreckage and began climbing the limestone slope, wind whipping his jacket.
Reed, I've got a clear line of sight from the ridge. Updating tracks. Hit Sector 12.
The first tornado dropped a mile away. He planted the dish and locked it, ignoring the debris that sliced the air.
Vex, why is the human still broadcasting? I ordered him eliminated.
But the storm chaser had no intention of leaving. The storm was his arena, and he was still very much in the fight.
Take us into the Hail Core. The humans cannot track us in there.
Commander, the hail will shatter our hull. It's suicide. Reed, the flagship just dove into the hail core. I can predict its exit point in 40 seconds.
Air wing. Vector to Rain's coordinates. Fire into the hail on his mark.
Human fighters screamed into the black hail curtain, flying blind, relying on nothing but Jeffrey's voice and the storm's own reflectivity. Jeffrey counted the seconds under his breath, finger on the tablet. Now, he said. Missiles punched through the hail and found the flagship just as its nose emerged. The explosion ripped a massive gash in the hull. On the bridge, wind and rain screamed through a wall of flame. Donald held his command chair, But the ship was already dying. The flagship fell like a wounded star, trailing fire and debris until it crashed in a muddy field some 20 miles inland. The crash site smoldered in the rain, but the commander was still breathing, and he knew exactly who had brought him down. Across the battlefield, alien soldiers threw down their weapons. The storm had broken their will as thoroughly as their ships.
Reed, I am coming down. Where's the crash site?
Half a mile south. He's alive, Rains, and surrounded. Don't do anything reckless.
Jeffrey skidded down the muddy slope, skull paint now a black smear. He walked past burning debris toward the downed flagship. A hatch blew open from the inside. A tall alien commander staggered out, cloak torn, wound bleeding through his armor. He locked eyes with the slim human in a red jacket, face painted with a grinning skull. He knew instantly.
You must be the one who launched a missile at my truck.
Donald's eyes dropped to the cracked tablet in the human's hand, the same device that had drawn his fleet into a killing maze. Above them, the ceiling of cloud began to tear open. Sunlight fell across the mud and the dead. The storm was dying, but the war in this field was now between two beings. One who had always loved the lightning, and one who had just learned what it really meant.
How? How could a single human with a civilian device track my entire fleet through a superstorm?
This right here, that's you. The storm told me everything. The thermal layers, the wind shear, they paint a picture. Your fleet was a bright smear in my model.
You chased this monster for sport, while we fought for our lives inside it.
Chased it. I dreamed about this storm. It was the most beautiful thing I ever saw.
Donald's gauntleted hand found the emergency log recorder on his chest plate. He pressed the activation stud. The device whirred to life, capturing every word. The first thing it recorded was the human's voice, still full of excitement.
Look, the hook echo here. That was your formation. Beautiful, really.
Beautiful. You find this deadly weather beautiful? You are insane.
Maybe. But that insanity is why you are standing in mud right now.
We attacked during the storm, the largest in this planet's history. Visibility 0, sensors useless. Perfect.
The log recorder captured every syllable, transmitting to the fleet's remaining hyperspace relay.
They did not hide. They came out to meet it. One human with a tablet tracked us through the chaos.
Jeffrey listened, arms crossed, rain dripping from his skull-painted chin.
They were excited. They laughed at the lightning. They called the killer winds beautiful.
On his tablet, the hook echo still glowed, a signature of the fleet that no longer existed.
What kind of creature is delighted by the thing trying to kill it?
The words hung in the air like a verdict. The transmission ended. The last fleet relay caught it and hurled it toward the silent, waiting Dominion Council. On the hilltop, Jeffrey watched the storm tear apart, golden sun breaking through the black. He raised his cracked tablet and smiled. The remaining alien ships fled upward, breaking through the thinning clouds and vanishing into the void.
It's over, Commander. Earth isn't yours. The storm ended it.
Soldiers led Donald away. Jeffrey stood alone in the mud, the weight of what he had done only now settling on his shoulders.
Jeffrey Rains, you just saved the planet. Consider your tribunal waived.
Just promise me the storm data is archived. That hook echo was textbook.
The sun broke through completely, illuminating the wreckage and the cheering troops across the battlefield. Jeffrey looked up at the sky, skull paint smeared, the cracked tablet still in his hand. He had chased storms for the beauty. Today, that beauty had become a shield for his entire species. The chase van pulled up, and his team spilled out, laughing and crying, pulling him into a muddy embrace. Somewhere high above, the last alien ships entered the black. The storm had passed, and Earth stood unbroken in a dark observation post at the edge of the solar system. A relay node flared to life. Two alien officers leaned toward the crackling speaker, their frills flattening in dread. The message was Commander Donald's final log. What kind of creature is delighted by the thing trying to kill it, light years away? In the Dominion Council chamber, the same words filled the hall. One council member, mandibles trembling, repeated it in a whisper. What kind of creature? The star map updated in real time. The human homeworld blinked red, encircled by a quarantine ring. A terse notation appeared below. Do not attack during an atmospheric disturbance. They will be waiting, and they will enjoy it. Across the spiral arms, fleet commanders received the directive. Some laughed. Most did not. They had feared humanity's guns. Now they feared something far more incomprehensible. A species that found joy in annihilation. Earth, the death world that smiled at doom, was no longer a target. It was a legend. A week later, Jeffrey stood alone at a small memorial near the crash site. A single marker, a few stones. He placed his cracked tablet at the base, screen still glowing with the echo of the storm.
Rains, you there? Another system is spinning up in the plains. You want in?
Wouldn't miss it. That's where I belong.
He didn't look back. The van rumbled to life, and the road stretched into the darkening horizon. His radar screen flickered with new returns, a fresh supercell building over Oklahoma. The Hook Echo was forming. The Storm Chaser's maps were lighting up with coordinates, not for defense, but for pure, reckless joy. The galaxy might fear the human anomaly, but Jeffrey only saw an invitation in the wind. He grinned, the old thrill rising in his chest. The storm was calling, and he would always answer. The van faded into the storm front, and the world moved on, a little wiser, a little stranger, and utterly unbroken. Days later, Jeffrey stood alone on an open prairie. A distant thunderstorm crawled across the horizon, quiet and immense. He closed his eyes and let the wind press against his face, a familiar greeting.
It was never about fear. It was always about wonder.
The storm flickered with silent lightning, a slow pulse that had called to his species for millennia. He opened his eyes, and the sky answered with a low rumble. A thin smile crossed his lips, the same one he wore when he first saw a Hook Echo. To the galaxy, humanity was a riddle wrapped in a death wish. But to humans, the storm was never a threat. It was an invitation. Jeffrey turned and walked toward the horizon, the lightning still dancing behind him, and the storm whispered back, promising the next chase, the next thrill, the next impossible beauty. Months later, in a silent outpost at the system's edge, a message scrolled across the main display. The directive was simple. All fleets avoid Earth during any atmospheric disturbance. The officer on watch read it twice, his frills flattening against his skull. A chill that had nothing to do with the ship's climate crept up his spine. He glanced out. The viewport at the distant blue marble, now wreathed in a fresh, spiraling storm. Somewhere down there, humans were smiling into the wind, welcoming the doom that had broken a fleet. He touched the screen and whispered the words that had become legend. What kind of creature? The warning flared on every Dominion map. A red circle, a skull-like cloud, a note of dread. The outpost's commander gave a single order: mark and avoid. The ship's autopilot quietly adjusted course, and in the silence of deep space, the question still echoed, and no one had an answer.